Welcome to the final lesson of our Food Before One course. It's time to cover drinking. You may have heard that speech therapists and other developmental professionals don't recommend sippy cups because they promote developmentally unhelpful mouth positions and movements. I've included additional reading for you if you're curious in the printable field guide. You may have even heard that babies can learn to drink from straws or open cups before a year of age. But you might be left scratching your head wondering how to teach your little one these skills and how to skip or wean from a sippy cup. First of all, I'll say this. I don't think that a few weeks or months of using a sippy cup is detrimental to baby's development. A soft spout sippy cup might even be helpful in transitioning some babies from their bottle to a straw. However, most parents don't use a sippy cup for a few weeks or months. They use it as their go-to drinking vessel from babyhood all the way through toddlerhood, and that long-term use could definitely affect oral motor development. So let's begin by talking about how to teach your baby to drink from an open cup. Much like our food readiness activities from part 1 of this course, it can be helpful to give your baby an empty, unbreakable cup to mouth and hold at a few mealtimes before you introduce liquids. You might be surprised that he puts his mouth on it correctly from time to time. But then again, he's probably putting almost everything in his mouth lately, so we shouldn't really be surprised. Next, it's time to add liquid. Choose a very small cup that you can see through, since to be able to help, you'll need to see where the liquid is in the cup. Medicine cups and little shot glasses work great. Add liquid. I recommend water, breast milk, or formula, and just put enough to coat the bottom of the cup. Some of my peers in the field of feeding recommend filling the cup more than halfway, and that's so that you don't have to tip it very much to bring liquid to baby's mouth, which is very true, but as a mom, I can tell you that this will almost certainly lead to bigger spills. As you offer the cup to baby, it's natural for most babies to reach for it and grab it, and this is great, but just be ready for it so that you can help keep the cup steady. If your little one doesn't reach for the cup, continue to guide it to his lips. You'll place the bottom rim of the cup on your baby's lower lip and tip the cup up to deliver just a little sip. Then tip it back down. Is liquid dripping off your baby's chin? That's normal. Keep trying. He has to learn to make a seal with his lips on the edge of that cup. If your baby doesn't open his mouth at all when the cup is on his lip, you can tip it up and hover there to maintain some liquid there for a few seconds to see if he'll open for it. So let's take a look at what his mouth might look like. Here's my cup, a small clear shot glass, and you can see just a tiny bit of water at the bottom, just enough to coat the bottom of the cup. You'll see baby pull it to her mouth, but it takes a minute for her to figure out where it goes. She starts with her tongue sticking out, and she also blows into the cup instead of sipping at first. But because I'm keeping the cup steady with liquid at her lips, she gets a second try and she takes a few sips. What if your little one doesn't seem interested in cup drinking? Well, you might try dipping the rim of the cup in a puree that he's successfully eating, or even putting that puree, thinned with some water, in the cup to drink. If that doesn't work, it might be best to wait a few weeks. Give baby cups to play with in the bathtub and during playtimes so that he gets used to handling and mouthing them. Once babies figure out the mouth part of open cup drinking, I like to turn it over to them to learn to manage the cup themselves. At this point, a cup with handles can be really helpful, and having a see-through cup isn't a major concern. Again, you'll just pour a tiny sip of water into the cup, just enough to coat the bottom, and hand it over to your baby. Why just one sip? Until your baby can intentionally drop objects into a container, he won't be putting that cup back down on his tray after he's done. So expect some cup waving and banging and expect to take that cup back after sips. Since there's so little liquid in the cup, your baby will need to tip it up really high, which might require some help at first. Now on to straw drinking. Your little one can be ready for a straw as early as when he's able to keep foods in his mouth and clear a spoon easily with his lips. The first step is to help baby understand what a straw is and that there's a yummy liquid in it. A quick and easy way to teach this is what I like to call bird feeding. You'll stick just an inch of a straw into your liquid and plug the other end with your finger. Then move the straw to baby's mouth and release your finger to release the liquid. Gravity will pull the liquid into his mouth, even if your baby doesn't suck or even fully closes lips around the straw. It might take a few tries for your baby to figure out what's happening, but your cue that he's understanding is that he'll begin to close his lips around the straw and to swallow the liquid. Next, baby will need to figure out how to actually suck from the straw. The less distance your baby has to suck the liquid through, the easier it will be. The more liquid is in a cup, the more of the straw will be pre-filled with liquid, and therefore the less distance your baby will have to suck it. You can also cut the straw to make it shorter. So you can see here that I've cut the straw on both ends so that it fits in a small cup and so that there's only about an inch above the bendy part. It can help your baby a lot if you create a little lip block with your fingers to expose only a little bit, about an inch of the straw, which you can see me doing here. It keeps your baby from sticking the straw too far back into his mouth, and it also helps cue him to close his lips and create a good seal on the straw. Alternate between bird feeding sips and offering the straw until you see your little one start to take sips on his own. This might happen in one meal, or it might take several days. Don't stress or obsess about it. Simply offer a little practice time of a few sips at each meal. Once your baby is successfully taking a few sips with a straw, you can switch to your preferred baby-friendly straw cup. If you've been trying straw drinking for several weeks and your little one isn't catching on, a bigger straw might help. And by that, I mean one with a wider opening, because it's easier to close the lips on to make a tight seal. A great place to look for a thick straw like this is at restaurants that serve milkshakes. Another tool that can help is a squeezable cup with a tightly sealed lid. This allows you to squeeze to bring the liquid just beyond your baby's lips so that even the slightest suck he gives will get him a sip. Think of it like a juice box. You can suck or you can squeeze from it. Many babies won't need this help, and these cups are harder to find, so start with a regular cup, and if you need a squeezable option, I've included that information for you in the printable field guide. Like I said in the beginning, a soft spout sippy cup can be worth a try as a short-term transitional tool for babies who just can't get the hang of a straw. Just be sure to keep practicing straw drinking so that you can move past that sippy cup when your baby's ready. The biggest takeaway from this lesson is that even babies under 1 can learn to drink from an open cup and with a straw. This lesson brings us to the end of your Food Before 1 course. I hope you've found it helpful, that you've learned a few things, that you've had some of your questions and worries addressed, and that you're downright excited for your baby's upcoming feeding adventures. Enjoy the journey.